started. Pursuant to the Illinois Open Meetings Act, meetings held remotely will require roll call votes for all action items. Madam Secretary, can you go ahead and call the roll?
Director Curry?
Present.
Director Garza is absent. Chair Prendergast?
Present.
And for the record, those directors also attending, Director Ketting
Present.
and Director Story. Who appears present, but he may have stepped away. Oh, thank you very much. You have a quorum.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. The next regular meeting of the Human Resources Committee will be held on Thursday, I think this 8/18 at 12 p.m. Madam Secretary, are there any public testimony that was submitted?
No, we did not receive any.
Okay,
No.
awesome. Okay, well, moving right along. Next on our agenda, we'll hear a report from our Chief Human Resources Officer, Valerie Amos. We'll go ahead and review the metrics and present the report.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. This is Valerie Amos, Chief Human Resources Officer.
Good morning.
Good morning, Director Story. All right, spirited this morning. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started with the metrics in terms of where we are today. So, of course, this is our fiscal year 22 activity report as it relates to hiring. Currently, the HR team is working on over 1,800 vacancies. We call those requests to hires within the CCH system. We have hired 210 employees, again, the beginning of fiscal year 22 through the end of April. So 58% of those have been external hires, and we have a notable number of internal transfers and promotions, which is fantastic from a career mobility standpoint. So this slide really represents that we are still physically working on 1,600 of those vacancies, and we still have a lot to accomplish, but they are all in process at this moment. Next slide, please. The activity report. So what is actually happening behind the scenes, and where are some of our challenges, and how are we going to address those challenges? As I mentioned before, we have over 1,800 that we are currently working on within HR. Some of those are in the pre-recruiting state, which are areas like, job description reviews and other reclasses and so forth. So what is really, again, within the HR team scope is the 1,604 positions in process. And as you can see, there are varied areas and stages of the process that we will have to continue to drive numbers closer to where we need to be. So in terms of what we posted so far, we've posted 1,500 plus positions since the beginning of this fiscal year. Over 1,200 of those have closed. And so validations completed, almost 1,000 candidates were reviewed, and they were deemed qualified to move on for interviews. 777 of those were sent for interviews. And then, as you can see, interviews were completed and vacancies were filled. So we still are challenged with the throughput, and we have additional resources on site as well as virtual to help us with some of that throughput. Next slide, please. This slide really depicts our quarterly changes as it relates to separations. So the second quarter showed a decrease in the number of separations, which is 79 from the last fiscal year of 93. However, we are still trending a tad bit higher than the last 2 fiscal years. Voluntary separations, as you can see at the bottom of the slide, collectively kind of leads the reasons. So those noted are resignations and retirements. So as a process improvement initiative, we are retooling our exit survey to collect better reportable data. The current survey was developed in 2019, I believe, and there have been only about 400 responses. And those responses have been very general in nature. So we're looking ahead to develop a more contemporary survey that aligns with the market reasons so that we can have some reportable data that's meaningful in the next few meetings. Next slide, please. So let's turn to what we are attempting to do to address some of the challenges. I heard in one of the finance earlier calls, Chair Ryder mentioned some of that. So the optimization. What is optimization? And in actuality, you've heard about this before, but I'm going to continue to socialize that concept of what we are attempting to do to unpack and really drive change and modernize what we need to do. So we've heard the workforce recruitment challenges we're faced across the nation, as well as CCH. So in terms of the significant vacancies, every organization is competing for talent. And we have partnered with 3 companies, Slalom, Cross Country, as well as Deloitte, to really come in and help us with some of these challenges. Slalom is focused on process improvement initiatives and technology review. We need to modernize our technology to really drive better hiring results with speed. So we need to equip the team within HR to do a better job. Cross Country, those are boots on the ground. That's the recruitment process outsourcing company that has come in to really assist us. And I'll share with you some of how many folks have come in and what they have accomplished so far. Deloitte has not started with us. We do have we're in the final stages of their contracts, and they are waiting and willing to start with us. They will also bring some additional recruitment resources as well as process improvement initiatives for some of our employee-based programs, such as tuition reimbursement, the leave management process. We want to retain our employees, so we have to do a really nice job of ensuring that there is service and quality associated with what we do. And at this moment, a number of those touch points are manual. So we are looking to really advance and modernize and be more contemporary and competitive with other organizations to not only recruit, but to retain individuals. So the total number of hires that we'll need for the system exceed 2,000. Recruiting is working on 1,800 plus of those positions. So we're not even quite there yet. And it really does take a long time for us to fill those vacancies. So that's where we are still a bit challenged, but with these additional partners, we look to drive those changes. Next slide, please. Here are 4 key focal areas. You have seen this slide before, and I think what you'll do is probably see this slide often, because I'd like to continue to really report out on these 4 focal areas. We're under-resourced as a system, and we are no different from any other company around the Chicagoland area, as well as other areas. We are looking to recruit faster, more talented people. We need to modernize our technology, as well as retain the wonderful talent that we have within CCH. So moving forward to the next slide, let's talk about each one of those. So where are we with resources? We are definitely, we brought in some additional resources to us. Oh, I apologize. Mr. Harrington?
Yeah, my question is going to be about the technology piece, but it's going to be addressed now. So I'll wait.
Okay. Okay. So bringing in resources, what have we done? We have engaged, as I mentioned on the previous slides, Cross Country, the recruitment process outsourcing firm. They've brought in 6 additional recruiters to assist us, as well as some talent sourcing support that is missing from our perm team, but we are looking to really hire some individuals for us on a permanent basis. So again, these are temporary resources that have been brought in to assist. There are 4 more recruiters planning to join us from the cross country team as well. In terms of former recruiters, we have done what other companies are doing, which is calling back employees to say, hey, can you assist us? And there were a number of former recruiters who said, yes, we know that you're challenged right now, just like all of us, and we can give you a few hours. And so we have 5 of those individuals that are contracted. They are not part of our CCH team. They are contracted, and they are providing some hours and giving us some bandwidth. So it's helpful for that as well, because they had a much shorter learning curve to kind of jump in and assist. Perm recruiters, we have 4. One of them is on a leave. And so the Deloitte team is planning to bring in a team of 8 resources. And we'll have more details about that when they start. In terms of KPIs, how are we measuring success with this? As you can see, we have increased the number of FTEs to 10. Our number of HR employees is 36. And so we still have about 17 vacancies that we are filling internally to really have a full team. In terms of the ratio, I think that this is important to note, and we'll continue to report out on it, is the benchmark standard. How are we able to support the organization as a system? So we need to definitely have those resources within HR. And so we are currently at 111 employees to 1 HR resource, and benchmark data, and the sources are at the bottom of the slide, kind of indicate that we are twice that number from one source and a little bit less than twice on the other source. We have some work to do, and we are driving in that direction. In terms of some of the strategies that we are employing to bring in immediate hires, I think Dr. Peters reported out on one of the finance calls earlier that there's a need to close that gap, fill the gap between what's vacant, where the agencies are, and how we can address this. There is indeed a nursing shortage. There is reportable data out there to speak to that. Nurses are retiring. Nurses have also been a part of that great resignation that I've shared several months ago in one of the meetings. So all of this is real, and there's reportable data, current data, contemporary data, and a number of sources that speaks to this. However, we have partnered with Incredible Health, which is a company that identifies and matches nurses based on their qualifications with our organization. We are launching that we started the discussions last week, and we should have it launched this week. So we're excited about this opportunity. So they are like almost the eHarmony for jobs. So they will match candidates to us, and we will take it from there and hopefully hire those candidates in short fashion. Job fairs and interview and blitzes, we will continue with that effort as well, with the modifications that our partners are assisting us with to streamline what we do, decrease some of the manual duplicative work. We are looking to drive these blitzes and hiring fairs a little bit faster. We need to really move fast with some of those short-term and long-term effects. So this requires a bit of time. I spoke about Slalom and their process work with us, and we'll hear a little bit more about that in following slides. But this is an evolution. It's not just a drop in the bucket, if you will. It's going to require some sustainable process transformation that requires change at the organization. We are on that journey. So we're pleased to see some of the progress, and you'll hear a little bit more about it as well. Outreach campaigns, really revitalizing. What does that mean? Yes, my apologies.
Director Ketting had a question.
And yes, Director Ketting.
Yeah, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Under recruiting, where
Yeah.
it says the cycle time is 120 days,
Yes.
I take it that's the current status. And the question I have is sort of twofold: is do we have a goal that we think is achievable, and what is that? And then what's the time frame for getting there?
Yeah. So thank you for jumping ahead. I was going to address some of
I'm
those.
sorry, I
That,
didn't really.
that's okay. You're stealing my thunder. You're absolutely right, though. The cycle time is not where we want it to be. We've seen some average time to fills for particularly nursing as being around 87 days. So the market has shifted tremendously, and we want to be below 90 days, ideally 60 days. But we know that that's a notable, would be a notable accomplishment given some of the current challenges. So that is, hopefully that answered your question. And I was going to continue on with some of the other strategies, but do you have any further questions?
Do we have a time frame, a sense of when we might get there, or is that just something we have to work out?
We have to definitely work on it. We have a game plan and project plan in terms of how we want to achieve it. We need, however, additional resources to work on our current vacancies, moving kind of, remember that pink bar that you saw on the first slide, the 1604, that's the piece where we are still kind of moving through. And that's going to require, again, resources, some technology solutions to help us with speed and velocity in general. So we may not see the full changes and effects for 12, 18 months from now, because it's going to take a shift. It's not just this particular fact about resources and technology and all of the improvements that I mentioned. We also are competing with a market that has changed. There are different creative strategies that many companies have shared, and we have to really kind of meet those demands as well. So they are pulling out all the stops, doing other things that we have not conventionally seen here at CCH. So we're looking to really kind of close that gap as well. So it's not just resources and technology, it's how do we get the candidates to say yes to us instead of saying no and declining our offers. Additional, oh, Debbie, can you go back, please?
I'm sorry. So sorry.
It's okay. All right. So outreach campaigns, this is part of how we're going to drive that change and decrease the time to fill. We need to partner with more companies, partner with schools, partner, ensuring that we are showing up at events. And so the way of the world is opening back up. And so we partner with some, the National Black Nurse Association event. Mr. Harrington, you were one of the guest speakers at one of the events. We are attending career fairs at particular schools as well. We're looking for their alums as well as their new grads. So this outreach campaign in partnership with our nursing colleagues, Dr. Bina Peters and her team and others, we have to show up in these particular communities. We have to show up on site as well to continue to host events, but we really need to drive change and proactively source. So those are some of the short-term as well as longer-term strategies. We are scheduled to attend an event at South Suburban. We have attended the 16th Ward Brookville Zoo event as well, community job fair. We are willing and able to support these events. We just need to start showing up and have our regular cadence for our internal plans as well. So that's how we're going to drive change. And then long term, again, being an employer of choice requires a whole branding campaign. We would like to partner with our internal marketing team as well as perhaps some outside assistance to get us there. The attraction feature is strong, and we need to do a really nice job of attracting those candidates. In terms of the KPIs, so where are we? Mr. Ketting, rather, you shared that we were exceeding 120 days. Absolutely. And our vacancy rate is still very high, as well as our higher number is not as high. So declinations, as we are transforming some technology solutions within our HR team and how we are tracking things, we haven't been tracking reasons for declinations. We are now tracking that. We also need to track offer acceptance rates and the recruiter ratios as well. So those are some of the KPIs that we will be looking at in the recruiting space. Technology moving along, Slalom has assisted us with a job tracker. It's a metrics dashboard. And so our internal team, our business intelligence department, as well as our IT team, they've both been partnering with us on this particular effort. So we're going to pilot this hiring manager dashboard with a group of 10 to 15 of our colleagues, and let's figure out if we need to make some notable changes. But this will afford transparency into what is happening within recruiting. We want to ensure that we can stand this dashboard up and have a sustainable platform for our leaders, our hiring managers, to understand what is happening within HR. This is only a short-term solution for something greater, because we'd like to be able to utilize one system, one technology solution for recruiters, for hiring managers, and for candidates. And that does not exist today. We have different systems that we touch and we report out of. And so we want to have one system with some data integrity associated with it, as well as again, just reportable data and generating reports that really make sense. So some of the data today is very difficult to retrieve because we're going to different systems to do so. As noted on the far right, we have about 13 different systems within HR that we touch, and there's very little integration with those systems today. So those are some of the things that we're tackling. And then, of course, retention. Conducting competitive analysis within the market, I think, is going to be critical for us. Public and private healthcare sectors, they're all doing different things. Our internal team has come together to really make a proposal for engagement and retention as well. And so we're working with Mr. Rocha on that. Our turnover rate, however, it doesn't look as bad in terms of what the market is stating. It's about 14%. And however, we noted that year by year, from about 2018 to present, we noticed that the number of baseline employees continued to change. So even though the turnover right now doesn't look as bad in the market as compared to the market, we have lost about 400 to 600 individuals over the past several years, 4 years or so. And then employee engagement, that also speaks to retention. How do we engage our employees? Our last Pulse survey indicated that we were about 3.83 out of 5. And so we'd like to be that 5 in terms of our organization. Next slide, please.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
In terms of the turnover rate, what are we shooting for, right? And so I know that we've obviously lost a lot of individuals,
Yes,
but
yeah.
so the period preceding this, what was that rate, and what is our target? Where would we want to be comfortable as an organization?
Yeah, so I didn't come prepared with all of the turnover data. I can certainly provide that, though, because I do have it. But as an organization, the best industry standards, as I'm told, or as I've researched and seen, it's less than double digits, so less than 10. Of course, 10% would be the best. However, we want to exceed that. We just don't want to be in the mediocre category, but we like to certainly drive that to lower. I am just quickly looking up, let's see, turnover for fiscal year 21 was 10%, and turnover for fiscal year 20 was 8%, and fiscal year turnover for fiscal year 2019 was 7%. So we are edging up. It doesn't look as bad, though, in the market. However, each year we're losing that baseline number of employees. So if we started at 6,000 and we're now at 5,700 or whatever, we continue to lose ground. Does that help you? Did I answer?
Yes, thank you. Mhm.
Okay, next slide, please. In terms of recruitment, there was a job fair. We hosted this job fair in April. So this job fair was for nursing, critical care, as well as the emergency department by far. So this is our 5th job fair since July rather, of last year. This is the 3rd nursing job fair. At the previous 2 job fairs, we had over 100 candidates to attend. This particular job fair, we had a very low turnout. Now, again, this particular job fair only focused on experienced nurses as well. And so we believe that that had something to do with it, as well as the shift primarily was night shift. So this job fair was for Stroger as well as Provident. Even though the turnout was low, I will say the number of candidates we were able to move forward with contingent offers on site, and we were able to secure 11 individuals. The individuals that did not receive an offer, they were not minimally qualified. However, we were able to capture their information, get them to apply to those positions that they met the minimum qualifications for. And some of the nursing leaders have already started to interview those individuals for other roles. I see hands. Director Prendergast? You're on mute.
No, that's left over. I should have
Oh.
lowered my hand. I didn't have a question, sorry.
Okay, that's okay. So how we are driving change with this is that we now have the ability to extend contingent offers on site at the job fairs. So that's notable for CCH, and we're excited about that change. We were able to pull together and make that change. Questions? No questions? Next slide, please. So again, just moving into what does this optimization truly mean in terms of progress. I mentioned we have cross-country. They have their recruiters assigned to now 350 positions, soon to be 550 this week, by the end of this week. The slalom team has assisted us with some interviewing and selection process improvement initiatives so that we can push things through with speed. And we are planning to roll out significant training to all of the management team associated with a lot of these changes. The recruiting dashboard. You heard about the dashboard at our last meeting. However, just to keep it very relevant, we are piloting this dashboard with several leaders. Our hiring process optimization, again, is to removing inefficiencies. I think I have a typo there. Contemporary HR technology solutions. We are investigating a number of technology solutions. We are engaged internally, and we will be working externally or internally rather with our Bureau of Technology partners as well, so that we can see what is out there for us to change, so that we can modernize and really have a scalable solution to support our growing needs as a healthcare system. And then contractor management systems. We often receive requests for how many contractors are physically here. And that number is a little different because our system allows us to track who's coming in. And so going out sometimes is a challenge. And so we need to, we are partnering with our IT team to really stand up a solution that will help us with better tracking and functionality associated with contractors as well. Next slide, please. Oh, I see a hand. I don't know whose hand it is. Director Curry?
Okay, it helps if I turn my mic on. Yes, this is Director Curry. Thank you. Understanding the optimization and the transformation of all these initiatives that are undertaken various stages. And my question is not meant at all to put you on the spot, and if you're not able to answer now, But looking at that high number of 1,800 plus the vacancies that you're working with, do you have a seat of the past or some optimistic progress number you could share with us by the next time we meet, maybe getting that 1,800 down by 10%, 5%? I haven't seen interim steps. And are you willing to talk about what you think we might see at the next convening of the meeting with all these things that are in various stages?
Yes, you're absolutely on target. I think once we have the available resources that we need to tackle some of that, we'll have more concrete plans. We have strategies, we have project plans, we have all of this, but without the bodies and without some of the changes in process and technology supports, all of that is just a fallacy. So I need to be able to continue to develop all of that before we can kind of announce what that would look like. I have some projections that I won't share today because
Okay.
we just don't have that fully baked. But it's on our plan to share that. We just don't have that baked.
And my last question would be then,
Mm-hmm.
again, I'm just looking at maybe the worst case scenario, that if a couple, 3 months from now, we find ourselves at the same number or going in a different direction, again, that's a possibility. What do you think we would need to look at? Are there additional strategies, just strengthening? And I recognize some of the impediments and the challenges that you have with the systems and everything else. But if 3 months from now we find ourselves still at 1,800, or maybe we've had some erosion, what would you suggest that we may want to implement at that point?
So I think that's a great question, and I should have probably qualified or just made a mention that this number is pretty high too because of the growing needs of the organization. And I know Mr. Rocha spoke so highly of all of the different initiatives. So we are attempting to expand to meet the demands of the community. And so I don't want to misspeak, but I know that there were over 700 new positions added to the budget. And so that number is wrapped into my presentation. It still is there for HR to work, but it is, to your point, it's a big number. So what are some of the different things or we need to look forward to in the future? I think we are conducting a market scan and we're looking at what other organizations are doing. We have addressed some things internally, and I think that we're going to come out with some information by Mr. Rocha and probably myself to really address in the near future. Other organizations are trying different things, and I know that our system, as a public and governmental entity, we do have some obligations that are certainly different from some of the other healthcare organizations, but we need to close that gap and get a little closer so that we're competitive. If we host hiring fairs and blitzes, even if we hosted them every week and we still have smaller numbers, we need to look at different strategies.
Yeah, I'll close. No, you absolutely spoke to my point that we have these 700 additional positions that may be coming on top of these that are already vacant. So this will present some new challenge in the short term. But that
Absolutely.
wasn't. So that 1,800 does not reflect these additional positions that may be coming on as well. Okay.
So Director Curry, I apologize if I didn't clarify that. The 700 positions plus were added in FY22 back in December. So they are added and baked into that number. Now, of course, towards the end of this, yeah.
Okay, thanks for the clarity.
All right. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Harrington, I see your hand.
Yes, my question was about how do we compare to comparable institutions? And that may not be a fair question because I don't know if the institutions are comparable to us in terms of what we do and the fact that we're a safety net system.
Yeah. So I think we can comfortably say that we are unique in the probably in the state of Illinois. But there is some documented information that perhaps I can present at a different meeting regarding other public institutions outside of Illinois and what their strategies are. I don't have that all prepared today, but I'm certainly happy to bring information back to the group because they are doing some different things. Absolutely. I'll take that down as an actionable item for me. And board members, we do have vacancies. We can send you the job descriptions if you guys want to come in and help us out as well. Okay, next slide, please. We talk about retention. We've tossed the word around, and I know that, again, our goal is not to see that turnover number continue to climb. We understand that people have choices. They choose to leave our organization for a variety of reasons, and that's what we are attempting to track a little closer. We have, of course, brought aboard Ling Dane, our Chief Experience Officer, and she and I have partnered on the Employee Engagement Committee. We have a great team of individuals that are really attempting to stand up recognition events throughout the calendar year. And so at one of our previous meetings, there was a question about what is the calendar and what do we have planned? And again, this is evolving. Our team is pretty dynamic, but here are some of the highlights of the engagement events that we have already completed and more to come for this particular calendar year. I have asked Ling to join me as well. If you have particular questions, we're happy to answer questions, but we're excited about, really driving this up and building it out even further.
This is Lynn Dang. I just wanted to also share that we didn't put, there's 2 initiatives on this employee engagement event. One of them is a community garden where we would like our employees to have their own garden. And the other one is the employee of the month, where the employee that was chosen for recognition for that month, they get free parking for a whole month. So that's another initiative that we're working on.
And I'd like to also just thank you, Ling. I'd also like to share, I know Dr. Peters and her team, so many different nursing leaders promoted the Nurses Month. We all have our swag bags, the Cook County Health bags, little book bags, and there was a Nursing Excellence Award ceremony. And so there was so much, excitement around Nurses Month. We want to recognize all employees, and so these events are really geared towards everyone within the organization at every level. But I just wanted to share that the nursing team did something pretty fantastic, and so we're looking to drive those types of initiatives throughout the entire year. I won't read them all. I know that it's in your slide deck, but any questions regarding this? Okay. That concludes my presentations.
How did the White Sox staff outing go?
So I don't know if
Did the White Sox win when you were there?
No. So the White Sox is not happening until May 25th. That's when that's the home game. Mr. Rocha purchased 250 tickets, and we raffled. We had Excel spreadsheet select 120 of our employees randomly, and they also get to bring a guest. So that's not happening until the 25th, and it's at 7:10 p.m. But everyone's extremely excited about it. This is the first time where we're actually having a gathering for the staff, and people are really surprised and happy that this is happening.
Thank you.
We want them to win, obviously. So thank you for that. Thank you.
Well, thank you
That's
so much, Ms. Samos. We do have some action items. The first is the minutes of the Human Resources Committee special meeting from April 21st, 2022. These were approved by the board at the April meeting, but are being presented for the committee's review and discussion if necessary. Are there any corrections that need to be made to the minutes? If not, I'd like to receive a motion to accept the minutes of the April 21st Human Resources Committee special meeting. Roll
So
call
moved.
needed.
Second.
Okay, Madam Secretary, may you call the roll, please?
If you don't mind, can I double check? Director Curry made the
I
motion
am on.
and, I'm sorry?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And who seconded the motion?
Director Story.
Oh, I apologize. I think that we need to have HR committee member second it.
Oh, only? Okay.
Sorry,
about
thank you
that,
though.
Debbie. Sorry
I'll
about that.
second it.
Thank you very much. And shall I take the roll call vote?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Roll call vote on the motion to accept the minutes. Aye or nay, Director Curry?
Aye.
Director Garza is absent, and Chair Prendergast.
Aye.
So you have 2 yays and 1 absent.
Okay, thank you. Motion passes. The next action item is the proposed collective bargaining agreement, including an economic package, wage increases in healthcare between County of Cook and the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, Local 743, representing Provident Hospital employees. This item will be reviewed and discussed in closed session. Any action taken on the item will take place in open session following the closed meeting discussion. At this time, I will need a motion to go into closed session.
I'm not going to say anything, Debbie.
Thank you. Director Curry, are you there? Director Curry?
Second. Oh, yes. Aye.
Is that a motion, Madam Chair?
Are you able to hear me?
I'll go ahead and second the motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Roll call on the motion to go into closed session. Aye or nay, Director Curry?
Aye.
Director Garza is absent, and Chair Prendergast.
Aye.
You have 2 yays and 1 absent.
Okay, all right. So at this time, we'll go ahead and disconnect and reconvene for the closed session. Thank you all.